Hi and welcome, super healthy boomers. And if you're not a super healthy boomer and you keep listening to the podcast and you become one of my clients, you can become a super healthy boomer. My mission is to change the whole paradigm of seniors. Oh, you're a senior now, so your digestive system's not going to work, and this is not going to work, and you're going to have this, and you're going to get cataract, and you're going to get a new knee and a new hip, and all the wonderful things for seniors. I don't want to be in that club. And I want a lot of my listeners and a lot of people I work with personally to not be part of that club. People who see me, and it's not ego or selfishness. I want to share this. They say, we can't believe you're 78 years old. Why? Because I have my natural hair color and I have my hearing and I don't have a new hip and I'm flexible and I have lots and lots of energy. And I don't take any particular medications, maybe some rapamycin as an anti-aging drug or some Acrobos, the black sugar from beans. It's made from white kidney beans. But other than that, I'm not taking any pharmaceuticals. So let's rewrite this whole dynamic of senior citizen. So I'm watching these commercials, it's funny because I try and get into some of the education, YouTubes. I watch a lot of them because there's a lot of integrative professionals, health professionals, doctors, and scientists now doing some really good information. But then you get the commercial, and the commercial, people are having a great time, traveling. My life has never been better since I started this medication. And I laugh, and I go after I laugh to myself after I hear all the side effects. And then I feel left out because I want that condition so I can take that drug and feel happy like all those other people. So let's get into the good stuff. Right now they're doing experiments. Mitochondria are the cell batteries. And they found that the mitochondria not only produce energy, but they can support the immune system. That's a really strong immune system, tie-ins in mitochondria. And one of the ways of damaging mitochondria is toxins, lots of toxins. Well, don't become the bubble boy or, you can become the bubble girl too, where you don't want to eat anything anymore because everything's got something in it that's bad. I can't drink the water because the plastic's going to leak from the bottle. And now people telling me lay off the fruits. I can't eat the fruits because the fruits are going to raise my blood sugar. And of course, they've got loads of pesticides. And now how about the fish? Well, fish, especially scallops and shrimp, have lots of cadmium and of course, lots of plastics. And this is what goes on because when all this information is put out there, a lot of people just ignore it. It's just too much information. And if everything's poisoned, so what? I don't really care anymore. Well, that's not the way to go. The way to go is to dive deep into the whole body system. We've learned to live with poisons. I mean, lots of plants are poisonous, but at low dose, so they stimulate the system, right? They stimulate. When they're doing HBOT or what they call hyperbaric oxygen, the idea is that they raise it up and then they lower it so the body adapts. There's a whole theory called hormesis. Well, what's hormesis? You put a stress and then there's an adaptation. It's what exercise is. That's what lifting weights is. Well, you stress those muscles. But here's the bottom line to this. You don't want to surpass the body's adaptive ability. Adaptation without maladaptation, right? So we can handle some poisons and you can take a lot of different supplements and different foods to help. And that's my big thing. My big thing is what I call nutraceutical self-defense. Nutraceutical self-defense means that a lot of foods, here's a perfect example. I've been studying sulforaphane and broccoli, not particularly broccoli, but sulforaphane, which supposedly comes from broccoli. but isn't in broccoli because broccoli has been grown for taste, and the compound glucoraphanin, which is then converted to sulforaphane with myrosinase when the broccoli is supposed to be chewed, isn't particularly in the broccoli. It's in sprouts. If you get good sprouts, good broccoli sprouts, but they need to be 3 days old. So then you get back to the supplementation, which Dr. Talladay at Johns Hopkins researched for somewhere around 40 or 50 years at least, and found that it kills cancer. That's right, kills cancer, and might protect against cancer, and might help muscle growth, and is very, very powerful in turning on the body's antioxidant system and help the liver. How many people who are not in this health field are taking sulforaphane? Not many, I'm sure. And it's not in the drug commercials because it can't be, there's a company in England, I don't know if whatever happened, that was going to try and make a synthetic version of this. I particularly love to use the sulforaphane product, or what I call the broccoli seed product, that was originally used in Johns Hopkins research, grown by a special seed company, which I'll be happy to share with people. And this is the one that's almost all the sulforaphane research has been done on. So let's talk about self-defense. Boomer self-defense. Okay. You're exposed to toxins. Detox. Protect yourself. Protect yourself with acetylcysteine. Protect yourself against oxidative stress. Okay, what is oxidative stress? Oxidative stress is a campfire that warms you and can kill stuff and cook for you, and the body produces oxidative stress. It's a byproduct of energy production. It's great. Unless the body's fire extinguisher system to control the oxidative stress doesn't work, and so, or is not up to par. And then what happens is then the plastics, and then these toxins, and then these hormonal disruptors, that are in everything, perfume. It shocked me when I realized, how many products have these hormonal disruptors. And is it any doubt that, fertility rates have gone down? And certainly, we're talking about, hormonal related cancers from these kind of things. Well, take things to protect. Take things to support liver, breaking down these hormones, breaking down so your body can eliminate them. So you can take specific antioxidant formulas, that are specific for you, maybe your genetic profile. That's what I try and do with clients, and your lifestyle, in things like the berries, certainly berries, but again, targeted supplementation, targeted for your lifestyle, things that are going on with you. Now, the other thing, baby boomers, that I love this whole idea is that, wait a second, you're 40 years old and you're worried about you're into anti-aging stuff, or like the famous, I take 100 pills. I think he decided to stop his supplemental business. We all know who he is. And the idea was that, I'm not going to die. Well, wait a second. Let's see the progress and changes that's happened in the last 10 years, even the last 5 years. Well, if we don't blow up the planet in the next, 40 years, who can imagine, the biology and medical changes. So the key is, don't get done in now, but something that might be, treatable and preventable. So you can live long enough for that progress, for those things that can really, extend healthy lifespan, which as a boomer shouldn't be looked at as a burden, as a societal burden, but as a gift of people who have life experience and lots of knowledge and experience that they can share. That's so important. It's such an important resource that we're neglecting. Instead, we shuttle people off to, seniorhood, where you're going to go to, assisted living place. My idol was, and many boomers, was Jack LaLanne. And I had the privilege of, meeting him when he was in his 90s, and he still had all his muscles. He used to watch his juice commercials and he was fine. He was still exercising. Well, he had an operation on a valve that he had since childhood. I don't know why he had that. Caught a hospital-borne infection. Probably had no experience with that. Hospital-borne infection, died of pneumonia. Still exercising, like they say, his daughter said, a couple of weeks before. Didn't want to take an antibiotic. I can understand he didn't want to take an antibiotic. Well, if you have a septic infection that's going to lead to pneumonia, please don't just rely on your juices. So let's start a movement of healthy boomers. Let's change the vernacular and stop being, the pharmaceutical customers. Like, I respect pharmaceuticals. I think they can do amazing things. When I was in my 20s, I had 2 wisdom teeth pulled out. I guess the dentist wasn't doing what he's doing, and I had a massive infection. I was taking vitamin C, and I went to a dentist. I went to the surgeon, and he goes, this is bad. You're going to have to go to the hospital and get antibiotics. I said, well, what happens if I don't? He says, you'll die. Probably. Oh, I took those antibiotics, but because I was doing a lot of stuff before, in 2-3 days, I was done. Infection was gone. Okay. So that's really, the key, appropriate use of pharmaceuticals. And I think anyone who's in the integrated field who doesn't respect that, I don't respect them. It's appropriate use. Another key is, and I do this with my clients, besides the self-defense, nutritional self-defense, nutraceutical self-defense, not getting so upset about this whole blood sugar thing, by looking at the glycemic index. The glycemic index was done on single foods, weren't done on combination of foods. So just because some food this has a high glycemic index, well, what happens when you take it with something else? That's not been measured. And of course, each of us has an individual body response. So yes, the idea of taking in, hundreds and hundreds of grams of sugar, you look at these labels because you're so addicted. And that's another key. Another key to this is don't necessarily deprive, because if you deprive, it doesn't really work. So once you start to listen to your body, once you go through a detox, which I put people on, once you supply all the nutrients, both from supplementation and from the right foods, pull out the heavy metals, lead, arsenic, cadmium, you can have a little of something. When I'm out with people and I see a nice, ice cream place, organic ice cream, doesn't have polyglycol in it, hopefully, that they use as a laxative now. And they use it as part of the freezing, get ice crystals in the ice cream. I'll have some, and I throw away the rest. And people around me look, how can you throw it away? Well, because I let go of the boomer mentality, which was finish everything. Because there are poor people in China and Europe and wherever, that don't have this. So they made you feel guilty that you had to finish it. No, have a little dessert. You don't have to finish the whole thing. Take your time. Savor it. Enjoy it. Okay? From decades of experience, I've learned that self-deprivation doesn't really work. But take your time. If you're going to shopping and you see something that's, been psychologically designed so you're going to want it, and you're going into a store hungry and it's calling out, eat me now. You're going to love it. Take time. Read the label. Give yourself maybe 5 minutes and say, you know what? After 5 minutes, I'll decide if I want that or not. And most of the time you won't. And this is the whole point. Start to listen to your body. So let me get to this good part, which is the toxins, and I'll explain this, of course I love the supplemental field. I take lots of nutrients, lots of the right supplements, totally guided with testing. I have medical support when I need it, but we all have plastics. So give it up. What are you going to do? Be a bubble boy or a bubble girl and not eat anything? No. self-defense. Okay. Yes. Don't take the plastic bottle that's been heated. It's going to have a lot of plastics in the water. When you get a water filter, get if you're going to have your coffee, get a ceramic cup so you're not getting the leakage into the cup. And then of course, don't make your popcorn, plastic popcorn in the microwave, microwave popcorn. But it's going to be every place. So what does it do? It generates oxidative stress. Oxidative stress, again, is very damaging. And so you take the right antioxidants. And this is a real good one. Zeolite, but medical grade zeolite. The nutrition field, the supplemental field is unregulated. So someone makes something in a garage, you don't know, and then sells it. Okay. I only use and recommend medical grade zeolite that's been patented and approved in Europe as a medical food. And this zeolite, if it's used right as part of the program, can pull out lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. Yes, human studies. And possibly plastic. We're not quite sure. But it can have a beneficial effect. And I'm a real big fan of that. And some of the right probiotics might be helpful for the plastics. So you got your antioxidants, you got your fiber, chia seed, flaxseed, which are going to have possibly plastics in them anyway. They'll help pass through the system. So again, there's been awareness. I think it's really, really important we clean up the environment. I think, unfortunately, as boomers, our grandchildren are going to have a tough time, what we've done to the environment, but let's help make change. So if you go to, don't have it up yet, I will have, a specific Healthy Boomer website. You can contact me through Facebook if you'd like, to join my super anti-aging group. And I think I'm not sure yet if I have the Healthy Boomer group up yet. And you can put the comments and please share this podcast so we can have more and more. I don't want to be the only healthy boomer around. I want people who know our history and the stories, and they know about, the cultural things we had. Otherwise, no one to share it with. So we come to the end of this podcast, and I want to please again share it, comment, questions, and thank you so much for listening.